Hi everyone. We're going to continue on with the second lesson here in the reproduction unit. So this one's on the cell cycle, and again, you have the notes all ready for this if you pick them up from the school, which you still can do. They're in the Commons if you want, and the stuff for me, it's all on the stage, so you just have to look for my name and find it there. If you don't want to do that, or if you haven't picked them up already, you can. I'll put the note frames on the website for you if you'd like. Okay, so today's lesson is going to be on the cell cycle. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the cell theory. Today we're talking about the cell cycle. So every second, millions of cells in your body are reproducing. So this is a constant thing. It's happening all the time. Most cells show remarkable similarities in how they grow and divide, and it's through a process that we call cell division. So the cell cycle is the life of a cell. And again, everything in red is what you need to write down on your sheet here. So the cell cycle is the life of a cell, and the average human cell has a cycle of about 20 hours. And again, that's an average. Some are going to be more, some are going to be less. Now, there's two parts of the cell cycle. So we've got growth and we have division. And so we're going to take a look at each one of those in depth here. So the first one is growth, so otherwise known as, or also known as, aka interphase. So the majority of the time in a cell is spent growing. So as you can see with the graph here, the vast majority of that light blue color, that is interphase. So the majority of the time is in the growth stage, and then the division section is that smaller little portion there with the yellows and the oranges. Okay, so during interphase, what ends up happening, cells grow and prepare for division, and also genetic information, or DNA, is copied so that there are two sets of DNA. I'm just going to use my pen here. So looking at this, you've got a once you start, pause the video and write those down, and then you've got a blank section on your note frame there for a diagram. So this is where I want you to sketch just the DNA here. So you're going to just do little clumps here. So you've got the original DNA, and this is sort of this double helix shape here, which we'll take a look at in a minute in more detail. So basically the point is that during this growth phase, the genetic information is actually copied so that you've got two sets of identical DNA. So as you can see, the one set here went to two identical copies of that DNA. So you're going to sketch a little diagram there showing how the DNA is being copied into two things. Why isn't that disappearing? There we go. Okay, so this is our image here of DNA. So the structure is called a double helix, and we'll learn about that in a couple days' time here. But I think you guys have all seen this. Also, the double ladder is another word for it, another name for it. Most people are familiar with this structure. Okay, now we're going to take a look at division. So we covered the growth, which is our interphase, and now we're going to look at division. So copy this part down. So two new cells are made from one original cell. Now, the new cells are identical to the original cell. So there's no differences. They're exactly the same. There are two parts to cell division. So first of all, we're going to look at mitosis, and then we're going to look at cytokinesis. Now, mitosis is one of those things that many of you will have maybe covered that in your grade 7 or 8 classes. If you didn't, again, no big deal. We're going to go through that together here. So mitosis divides the material in the nucleus. So it's going to separate the material in the nucleus. So remember, in the growth phase, we've sort of already started copying it. Now, so the original nucleus separates to become two identical nuclei. Okay, so it's going to separate, and then they're going to be exactly the same. Oops. So exactly the same by the end. Hold on. At the end of mitosis, there's one cell with two nuclei. So by the end of the mitosis, you're going to have one cell with two nuclei. These are a couple different diagrams of that happening, what it can look like. So you've got a little blank box there, cell with two nuclei. basically what all I need you to do, you've got one cell with the one nucleus, and it is copied, and at the end of mitosis you're going to have one cell with two nuclei. Okay, so this is essentially what you need as a diagram, or you could do a nice pretty one like these ones, but no need for it. Okay, there are 4 phases to mitosis. So we've got prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. So right now you may be wondering, what is this little guy doing here? This is a purple monster who's eating toast. So we say purple monster ate toast. And what that is it's a mnemonic device so that you can remember in order the different phases of mitosis. And actually, I remember learning this in my high school biology classes, and it has stuck with me. 25 years later, I still remember it from high school. So purple monster ate toast. So at this point, I wanted you to sketch a diagram of a purple monster eating toast, so you can do that. Now, cytokinesis begins when the mitosis is almost finished. So this is during telophase here, or during anaphase actually is when it really starts. Okay, so cytokinesis here. So cytokinesis is the second part of our division section here, so also known as cytoplasmic division. So those words are interchangeable with each other here. What it is, it's the separation of the cytoplasm and the organelles. So they're going to separate from each other during this phase. So it actually starts in late anaphase, and then it's finished at the end of mitosis. So through the end of telophase, because remember, we have the purple monster ate toast. So during the anaphase is when cytoplasmic division is going to start, and during telophase, that is when it's going to end, at the end of telophase. Now, this is when, so cytoplasmic division, then you can add this point into, is when one cell physically is splitting into 2 unique cells. Okay, now cytokinesis is different in plant and animal cells because the plant cells have cell walls. If you've done that organelles worksheet already, you will have sort of figured that out, hopefully. If you didn't, there's your answer for you, one of the answers to those questions. So the first diagram here, we've got a cell, animal cell. So when this happens, animal cells do not have cell walls. So what you end up happening is you have this what's called a cleavage furrow. So that's what's happening there. And then they're physically separating from that point, and you get these nice sort of roundish cells. A cell wall is in a plant cell. So the plant cell, you'll see it starting here. So this is called a cell plate. And so when they divide, that cell plate just starts getting more solid here. And so here you again have your, there's cell number 1, there's cell number 2. You still got your 2 cells here. Your nuclei have separated, but they're not so far apart as we have what we see in an animal cell. They're closer together here. So that's how we see them in a plant cell because of the cell wall. Now, after a cell is finished dividing, hold on, I gotta get rid of this. Just a minute. There we go. After a cell is finished dividing, the cell cycle is going to start all over again. Now, there are a few parts in our body where things just sort of, the division doesn't happen like it maybe should be. So the rate of cell division can be altered. So an example of this is blisters, and most of us have experienced blisters in our life. They're not fun. They do not feel good. So what do you think? Like, do you think the rate of cell division would be faster or slower when you get blisters? Yeah, it's going to be faster. So the cell division will happen quicker with blisters because you've got that dead skin, or that skin's rubbing off, and so the skin underneath has to quickly regenerate, quickly divide and go through that division process. Another example of things that are a little different are the neurons. So brain cells, which are also known as neurons, not all cells in the body can divide. So these ones don't regenerate the same way as, say, skin cells, for example. They're different. As you can see, they've got these spindly, hold on, we've got these spindly little pieces here. Those are called axons, and the reason why they're there is they sort of reach out so that they can talk to other neurons. So that's how the electrical impulses go through them. Now, when one of those axons gets damaged or dies off, you'll see like a crack in it, say. It'll break apart, and the axons have a really hard time regenerating or healing themselves. Recently sort of came to light that it's not impossible, but it's not easy, and part of that is just the simple fact that these type of cells are more complex than, say, a skin cell. So that's part of the reason, and there's some other factors that are going on there too. So this is why when people have like a brain injury, often it is permanent. So it's not like, when you cut your hand, that will heal, right? So if you have does anyone have a sore on their hand right now, some sort of paper cut or something like that? You'll notice that, like, if you go to sleep and wake up, your skin is already healing, right? So that's mitosis happening. Those skin cells are regenerating, they're dividing, they're healing you. When you have things like a brain injury or a spinal cord injuries, this is our nervous system, those cells do not regenerate as quickly or at all. Okay, so we're going to just show a diagram of the life cycle of a cell. So at the top of your page there, I want you to draw this in, just in the bottom part of your notes there. So the life cycle of a cell. So we've got two parts there. So the two parts are, we have growth and we have division. Sorry, it's hard to write with these pens here. So we've got growth and we've got division. Now, in the growth section, this is known as our interphase. So in here, we are preparing for division. So prepare for division. Now, on the division side here, division is broken up into the two parts. Do you remember what they are? Yeah, we've got mitosis. And on the other side, we have our cytokinesis, otherwise known as cytoplasmic division. So through mitosis, that's going to happen first here. Through mitosis, we're going to have the 4 different stages. Do you remember what they are? Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, so our purple monster ate toast. Now, the cytokinesis is not completely separate from the mitosis. It's actually going to start in the anaphase and finish up in the telophase here. But in the cytokinesis, this is when it's going to separate into 2 cells. Now, so we're going to have that happen. So cytokinesis, it's going to separate into 2 cells. Now, after cytoplasmic division, after cytokinesis, it starts again. So the cycle will start again at this point. So we just move up and we go through it again. And so this is the cell cycle as we move through it. So you can see how it's constantly reproducing, separating, and then starting again. Now, your assignment for this for today will be the stages of mitosis diagram. So again, this is in the note package. It's the one where you've got 4 different squares on the page. So prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And you have to draw structures for what's happening inside of a cell during each of those stages. So you can just Google this. I'm not sure if your textbook has a great, no, your textbook does have a good diagram of it. I can't remember what page it's on, but you can just look in the appendix and find that, or you can Google these images, whatever works for you. The second part of the assignment is going to be to watch a video. It's for the Amoeba Sisters, so I will post a link to this video. You already have the assignment for it. Again, it's in that package. And once again, if you didn't pick up the package, I will link to these documents for you. Okay, so that's it for today. Tomorrow's lesson, we're going to start looking at... Yeah, we're going to start looking at, it's when mitosis doesn't go well, basically. We're also going to have a quiz, so I haven't decided exactly what system I want to use yet for quizzing, but hopefully I'll have an update for you for that by tomorrow. Okay, thanks guys, take care, see you soon.